Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to change the world one starfish or one person at a time. As always, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share, all the stuff. That's how we get the word out. I'm really excited for our guest today. Michael Bolton is a good friend. Him and his wife, Debbie, we actually met in Florida at one of my first John Maxwell exchange events, which was a really scary event for me. I've got into that in other things in my life, but anyway, they were the first people that came and sat beside me, and they were so hospitable and so welcoming. And I just felt it was amazing, because I was kind of a little bit nervous. That's an understatement. I was super nervous. And Michael's a good salesman. He's got an amazing wife. And I seen her and I was like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful and she's successful. And what is she going to do talking to me? And they were like I said, the most amazing couple ever. So we've got to know each other. They're actually in the States and in Canada, so similar. We show up at a lot of the same circles, it seems like, with John Maxwell and Ed Milet. And so you guys know those are two of my favorite people in the world. So it's really cool that we show up at a lot of the same events together. So this is really neat to have Michael on. So a little bit about his background. He was actually a pastor for 25 years and an entrepreneur, which is an interesting combination. And then 10 years ago, branched into speaking, coaching, leadership development, that kind of thing, which is pretty cool. He's also been through some health challenges, which we'll get into. And his thing is about mission and purpose and helping people with marriage and family. And he's got 2 books, another one on the way. So we'll have all those links in the show notes. Anyway, really cool to have you. Thanks for being on the show, Michael.
Thank you, Angela. Can I tell the story about how we met?
Okay.
Because this is so cool.
I'll tell your side.
So Debbie and I, we're at a John Maxwell event, and we're big fans of John Maxwell, raving fans as well. And we remember meeting Angela and going, so where are you from? You always do the pleasantry and the small talk. And then it was, oh, you're from Canada as well. And there were several of us Canadians there, right? Of course, Canadians were, we got to find each other. and hearing your story. And then you remember you were doing the 75 hard at the time?
Yes.
The Andy Frisella 75 hard. I'd never heard of it before. So after that, I go, Angela, and you told us a bit about some of your health challenges. And I go, whoa, girl, that is serious commitment. And so I joined in not long after that and went through several rounds of 75 hard. And so I'm thankful for that, because,
cool.
In life, when you meet other like-minded people, you're growing, you're reading, you're at events, what got you this far, but it won't get you where you want to go. So you got to keep growing and developing. Mm-hmm. And just to hear that from you, that you were just committed to that, it was like I found my sister.
Aww.
I found my sister. Debbie and I found family, and so we've just stayed connected, and that is just so cool, because it's you find your tribe. You understand that, right?
Yes.
You find your tribe, and you go, it's such a good fit. So thank you for having me on the show today, the podcast today.
Well, I'm so excited for this. This is really neat. So, and I didn't know you actually had gotten to 75 hard. I don't remember that part. So it's kind of cool hearing the other side of the story.
Oh, you inspired me, Angela. You inspired me. So.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. So we're going to go into some of your story, which is awesome. So what got you into being a pastor, first of all? Did you grow up you were just I'm just going to be a pastor because your family was a pastor? Because I actually don't know. What got you in entrepreneurship? Tell us a little bit about the first 25 years, and then we'll go into the next 10 years.
Yeah, we get these big blocks of time. So this is good. I never thought I wanted to be a pastor. And I grew up as a Canadian kid. All I wanted to do is play hockey. The water freezes, there's ponds, and anywhere to play hockey, that's what I did. And so that was really my passion, was hockey. I was pretty good academically, but all I wanted to do was play hockey. And so that first part of my life, playing junior hockey, moving away from home when I was 16.
Very Canadian.
Very Canadian story.
Yeah.
And so when I ended up in Weyburn, Saskatchewan, small town south of Regina in Canada, to play junior hockey there. And for those who don't know junior hockey, it's club hockey, 20-year-olds and younger, usually 16 to 20-year-olds. And I moved there, and there was a small Christian high school and Bible college there that I was connected with. So that's where I went to high school and Bible college. But I never thought I enjoyed studying the Bible, and I thought it was kind of fascinating. I enjoyed history and language, and which is weird for a hockey player. It's kind of more focus on, and people say, well, it wasn't Jesus a bit of a pacifist? Because I didn't play hockey like a pacifist. I enjoyed the fun part of hocky. Wasn't a goal scorer. You can just kind of fill in the blanks from there.
Fill in the blanks, yeah. For anyone that doesn't know hockey,
and it was kind of an interesting life in that period. And I met my wife Debbie at the same time as well. When I was 18, we were married when I was 19, and that's a whole story in and of itself. But I never wanted to be a pastor. I just wanted to play hockey. But through circumstances, we went to the U.S., played D1 college hockey. Hockey didn't work out, but the church was looking for a campus pastor to work with high school and college students. And lo and behold, there was an opportunity there to serve in that area. And it just began this journey of serving. And I just loved it because I enjoyed, I enjoyed business. I'd studied it in university and enjoyed sports and enjoyed pastoring and ministering and connecting with people and helping them be all that God has created them to be. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what it was. That was the first 25 years.
Okay. And then during that 25 years, you also did some business, some entrepreneurship. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that was the cool thing. I was challenged to reread the life of Jesus in the Gospels. Where did Jesus spend most of his time? And I go, well, of course he spent it in church or the synagogue, the Jewish equivalent. No, he spent most of the time in the marketplace.
That's right.
Where he connected with business people. Mm-hmm. And it said they received him gladly. And I go, wow, how did I miss that? I'm a pretty good student of the Bible. I'd read it hundreds of times. Mm-hmm. I'd been to seminary. I have advanced degrees. It's like, how did I miss that? But you understand the way we frame things gives us perspective on how we see things. Yeah. Who we are allows us is a direct reflection of how we see things, right? Mm-hmm. We see them through the lens. You and I are both wearing glasses. Mm-hmm. We see through things through the glasses we wear. And I had just had this view of the secular and the sacred, kind of an ancient monastic view of things, that if you're spiritual, you separate yourself from the things of the world and you just do this. And that was kind of my mindset. And then it kind of got blown up on me, going, that is not the best way to make a difference in the city that we lived in, which was where my heart was. And so I got involved in entrepreneurship. And I was just telling this story to someone recently. I was walking from our home to the church building, and it was about a 15-minute walk in the summer. It's great. The weather was nice. And I walked by this house, and it was just terrible. And I think people were living in it too. It was just embarrassing how terrible a house it was. Mm-hmm. And I go, if that ever comes on the market, I'm going to buy it and fix it up. Be careful what you say. Mm-hmm. I just said it out loud as I walked by. Nobody around. Well, I think the guy upstairs heard, because literally within a week, I was walking by and a friend of mine who's a realtor was pounding a sign in the front yard. And I go, Harvey, what's with him? He told me it was his daughter and son-in-law. They were absentee landlords. They couldn't keep the property up. They wanted to sell it and get rid of it. And I said, man, this place needs a lot of work. He goes, you have no idea. I go, well, okay. And then I bought it. And I put this lowball offer in, and they accepted it. And I may have overpaid.
You're like, oh man, I should have gone lower.
Well, no, it was like, oh no, once you see it, right? Because you do a little due diligence, and you don't know what you don't know. And it became my first of many real estate, properties. And I ended up purchasing about 35. I had about 35 doors by the time I was done. And it really, it just connected me with the pulse of the community. How can I make a difference and provide good housing for people? Was it great housing? No, but it was good housing. Mm-hmm. I did the best I could. And it just began this whole journey of entrepreneurship, the ups and downs. And all of us know that, right? There are ups and downs in entrepreneurship. There are moments you're at the top of the world, and then the next day it seems like the bottom fell out, and problems and financials and, challenges. And it just really began a really cool journey of venturing into that world. Now, my wife, Debbie, had been in it her whole life and started a company. And she was one of the 3 co-founders of a company called Norwex. which is a global company. And that opened up a whole new world to us as well. So we kind of walked in these two worlds, which we found a way to link together, which they are linked together because that's the world everybody else lives in. How to bring faith, realistic faith, into a place that it answers the real questions of life. So that's been my journey probably for the last 20 years, the last part of that pastoring, and then into what I do today.
That's awesome. So let's touch really quick on something I caught in there was like, the ups and downs. Well, some people are listening to this and they're not used to the ups and downs yet. So, or they're like, well, I don't know about that. So tell us two things. How did you get through some of those ups and downs? What are some tangible tips and tricks that people can use to get through those down moments? And, is it worth it?
Oh man, in the moments when it's tough, if you ask me that question, I'd go, ooh, it's you better. And we talked about this just before we went online. You have to have a clearly defined why. Because if your why is not clear, I'm talking crystal clear. Mm-hmm. And if your why is not deep, like goes to the core of your very being, you will have a hard time sustaining the ups and downs. Because when it's tough, you're going to feel like quitting. Mm-hmm. But if your why is strong, your resolve grows and you can get through those difficulties. Mm-hmm. I heard this phrase, when your why is strong enough, you can endure anyhow. Mm-hmm. And boy, I'll tell you, when I clearly defined my why, and it's an evolving thing, mm-hmm. but when I clearly defined my why, boy, I tell you, it made the ups. You're okay with it, right? Because this isn't always sustainable. Mm-hmm. No business grows, the projection, the graph line, a nice straight line going up. It's, it's kind of,
kind of a roller coaster. Yeah.
Because that's what it does. That's life. That's business. That's entrepreneurship. And so when your why is super clear, like crystal clear, and my why is Debbie and I have 5 grandkids. I love our kids, but they were work. Grandkids are a gift from heaven. And we have 5 of them, 4 boys and a little girl who's going to be 4 in May. She's got grandpa wrapped around her little finger multiple times over. And so I look at them as a generation. Debbie and I are real legacy minded people. Mm-hmm. We're always thinking about what's the legacy. Everyone's leaving a legacy. Mm-hmm. You can choose what you want it to be, mm-hmm. but we all leave a legacy. And I look at them and I go, I'm leaving a legacy for them of someone who's growing, someone who's positive, someone who perseveres, someone who values marriage and family, someone who values other people, who sows into them and pours into them, who wants to see them succeed. Zig Ziglar had a great quote. He goes, if you help enough other people succeed, mm-hmm. you're not going to have to worry about your own success. And boy, the older I get, the more I see that to be true.
So yeah,
and
really
so that deep burning why is so critical.
And then you obviously transitioned from being a pastor to speaking leadership, which is kind of similar, as what pastors do. So similar, different congregation or different people you're talking to, but different, but the same. What had you transition, 10 years ago? And tell us a little bit about that journey.
Well, the journey was, we were living in Manitoba, and we'd been in a small community called Dauphin, Manitoba. So it's north of Winnipeg. And we knew there was the opportunity. I had committed to being there forever. Was like, no, I'm committed to this community in this region, and we'll just keep doing this, what we feel is impactful. Now, Debbie, at this point, Norwex had been going for about 15 years. And it was looking like there was an opportunity to expand into the U.S. and would probably involve us moving to the U.S. Now, I had gone to the U.S. for university, and so we loved the U.S., but our home was Canada. But when the opportunity afforded itself, and we had lots of heads up on that, we transitioned the church and made the move to the U.S., to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. And then the next question, of course, was, what's next? Do I want to get back into pastoring? No, that was a good season, but how can I help other pastors? How can I help them grow themselves and grow their congregations and grow their business people who are, involved in their churches? So I did some coach training, and then I got connected with the John Maxwell organization. And it was like I'd found my tribe. John Maxwell had been a pastor for 25 years, had transitioned as well into leadership development, and of course has been hugely successful, having sold 35 million plus books and made a difference all around the world. He was a real inspiration to me, as he is to you, Angela. Mm-hmm. And so getting involved in that, I found my tribe of like-minded people who were high character and high competence. Mm-hmm. Two incredibly important things. You don't want to have one without the other.
Right.
You're going to be good. You want to have high competence. You want to be good at what you do, and you want to have high character.
Yeah.
And so I found that.
Otherwise, you're a really good con artist.
Yeah, you don't want to be around those people for long.
No.
Because they're going to take you out as well as take themselves out.
That's right.
And so that began that journey of coaching, training, and speaking. And so that's kind of been my life for the last 10 years, traveling internationally, speaking at churches. And I've recently got into writing, taking some of these ideas and getting them down. That, I tell you, was one of the hardest things to do, is to get the book done. You go, no, it shouldn't be that hard. It takes focus and perseverance and strategy. And, you can't, it's not easy to do. Everybody wants to. It's like most things in life, right? Easier said than done. Right. So recently authored a couple of books, another one's on the way, kind of the initial trifecta of mission and purpose. That's this one. Ignite your mission, find your purpose. And then marriage, which is something my wife Debbie and I are really passionate about. And then the third one's on leadership, and it'll probably be out in the summer. Leadership's lessons every business person, every entrepreneur, every person generally has to pass.
I love it. And so anyone that's listening and not on YouTube, check out YouTube. But he's holding up the book, so make sure to check him out. Like I said, we'll have the links in the show notes.
Yeah, just go on Amazon. On
Amazon, yeah. But we'll have all of them there for sure too. So
thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what were some things that you've overcome along the way that, everyone has their challenges. What were some things that you overcame? You've talked a lot about associations. Did you have throughout all of it, going into pastoring from hockey and then going from pastoring to like the secular world and more of the speaking and coaching and that kind of thing? Did you have a lot of people that thought you were kind of crazy to do some of the transitions? And how did you deal with that?
Nobody's ever thought I was crazy, except my grandkids. They go, "Grandpa, quit being so crazy." But, when you make certain decisions, you're going to have the cheerleaders and you're going to have the detractors. Does not matter what decision you make. That is the world that we live in. People that think you're crazy and people that celebrate you and encourage you to fulfill and follow your dreams. And you have to know clearly why, and I come back to this again, why you're doing what you're doing. Because listen, there's some decisions that I wish people would have been a little more forthright in telling me what they think, because I probably could have avoided a few pitfalls. But on the other hand, I learned some great lessons in those. But there are other decisions that I made that people, thought this is kind of crazy. But I go, no, I really feel like this is the right thing to do. I could be wrong. Like, I'm not going in and saying I got it all figured out, but I was pretty sure that this was the right decision. And time proved out that it was. You were asking about overcoming. Angela, people from the outside look at successful people and go, oh, they've had such an easy life. Life was handed to them on a silver platter and they just had no challenges. Everybody who has some success has a story. And if you take time, you will be inspired beyond measure.
And that's what I want to know. Like, what are some of the challenges you overcame? Because what I just see, like, give me some specific examples. Because what I see a lot of people doing is they hit a challenge, and you and I know that for sure. But when they hit a challenge, when they're just starting out, they're like, oh, this isn't for me. It's not for me. It wasn't meant to be. This is the higher power telling me not to do it, instead of like a challenge to see if you're capable of doing it and to push through it. What are some things that came in specifically for you that were challenges that maybe almost even took you out of your purpose and your mission and your why and where you were going?
Every decision, our friend John Maxwell, what does he say? Everything worthwhile is uphill.
Right.
Everything worthwhile is uphill. You are going to be working against gravity. You're going to be working against challenges. If you're going to be a fish and you're going to swim upstream, as salmon do when they spawn, you're swimming against the current, and it's challenging and frustrating, and you will feel like quitting. But if you are convinced, you will find a way to overcome. You'll go over, you'll go under, you'll go around, you'll go through, whatever it takes, because that's where our perseverance is really tested. Our mettle is tested. Listen, the lessons I learned weren't in the good times when everything was going well. The best lessons I learned were in the challenging times. Mm-hmm. And I learned that in entrepreneurship, in real estate. What do you do when the market turns against you? What do you do when you're losing money every month? From making money to losing money? Mm-hmm. Well, you got to adjust real quick. And then on a health level, and you and I chatted a bit about this, 3 years ago in June. So this was middle of June, 2020, middle of COVID. I was working on getting healthy. And I was working out in the evening, and I felt this pain in my chest. And I go, that's kind of weird. Never experienced it before. Well, looking back, I had experienced a bit of it the week before, but I didn't know what it was. It turned out it was angina, because I had blockages in some of the, the main supplies to my heart, and it wouldn't go away. And I got a bit nauseous, and then I couldn't cool off. And it was about 9:30 at night. I said to my wife, you got to take me to the hospital. I think something's wrong. And she goes, I don't know how to get to the hospital, because she had gone to bed early. I go, I'll give you directions. Just hop in the car, start driving. So I go, turn left, turn right. It was about 5 minutes. We got there. We were pretty close. I walked in, and of course, during COVID, they'd rather you die at home than come into the hospital with COVID, right?
Right.
That's a whole other story.
Yeah.
No conspiracy, right?
Yeah, let's not go there.
But anyway, so I go in and I'm sitting there after they triage, and well, you look fine, right? You're breathing and you're upright and you're conscious. I go, if I don't say something, I'm going to be here for a while. I go, tell them, Debbie, that the pain's getting worse. It's probably a heart attack. Man, I was in 30 seconds. Nitro under the tongue didn't do anything. They hooked up to an IV, drew some blood, hooked up IV, and gave you nitro in a bag. And I'll tell you, man, wow, about 30 seconds, I felt like I could go home. And every vessel dilates, everything opens up. All the pain's gone. Well, they come back with the blood. You got a massive heart attack. We got to get you to the cardiac hospital in Calgary. So, hour later, stabilized down there, and did an angiogram. Not a good candidate for stents. They're going to pop the hood, do quad bypass, and it's going to change your life if you let it. With every challenge, you can either be a victim or a victor. Mm-hmm. Okay. I chose to be a victor, not a victim. I know I brought this on myself. It was my lifestyle choices. Had some bad genetics, but you can't blame it all on that. Maybe it's 20% genetics, 80% lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And I go, I'm not going to miss this opportunity. I dodged a bullet. I'm alive. I'm going to survive. I'm going to thrive. I'm going to be a victor. And to celebrate that, 2 weeks ago, I ran the Los Angeles Marathon.
So cool.
To go, I'm celebrating my recovery. And so I have the pictures ready of me in the hospital 2 days post-surgery.
Excited. In
my hospital gown, which are just terrible. They barely cover any part of your body, but that's another story. And I had the incision gauze and coverings, and then me holding my medal, finishing the marathon. I'm going to send it to my surgeon. And I'm going to say,
3 years later,
you and I, Doc, because of what you did, this is what I did. And that to me is a huge life lesson. Victor or victim. Mm-hmm. And you get to choose. Because a victim says, I can't do anything, or I won't do anything, or I'm incapable of doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Victor says, I will overcome this
Mm-hmm.
as best I can. So
man, that's
there's a little story of overcoming.
I'm like trying to figure out how I'm going to run a marathon. So
now as I 2.5 weeks post marathon, I go, you better think that one through, because it was way harder than I thought. I'll tell you a quick story about it.
Yeah.
I trained since September. So this was in March 19th, 2023. So since September 2022, I'd run about 900 kilometers of training. I mean, I put the mileage in. Lost about, from my highest weight, I was down 50 pounds. From my weight starting training the marathon, I was down about 25 pounds. And I started the marathon, it's 26 miles, mile 21, I'm cooking. Like I go, I got this. Mile 21.5, I felt like somebody poked a hole in the gas tank. I was like, what in the world just happened? And the energy, and I'd done everything I was supposed to and it was like, I don't know if I can finish this. Like, you have this self-doubt, you want to quit. I didn't train enough. This really isn't for me. And man, I go, I got to gut this out. And you hear about people talk about in marathon terms, you're going to hit the wall. I hit something, or it hit me. One of the two. It felt like I got hit by a truck. And I just gutted it out. I ran, I walked, and it was so embarrassing, getting passed by these little old Chinese ladies who were 70, trotting along, going, jeepers. I was a college athlete. That picture up behind me there in 1984, we won a national championship in hockey. It was like, man, that was 40 years ago too. So,
and between a heart attack.
Can't live on the past that long. But anyway, I finished. I crossed the finish line. I go, not finishing is not on the list of options. So I'll find a way to finish. If I got to crawl across, I'll crawl, but I'm finishing. And interesting, I saw people quit not that long before the finish line. They couldn't do it. They collapsed. They just quit. They just say, I can't do it. And man, it was tough, but I did it. And lo and behold, I'm stupid enough, to actually, Debbie and I are going to run another one in Missoula, Montana, June 25th to celebrate our 40th wedding anniversary.
What a way to celebrate. Jeez.
Most people go out just go out for dinner.
Don't necessarily post this to your wives that you guys are going to run a marathon for your anniversary.
So we're back training today. I got to get back. I ran 2 days ago. I'm running again today. And it's, you think, oh, you just pick up where you left off. No, you don't. You had to take a break. You got to kind of, your body's saying, why have you done this? And you just go, no. But it's interesting when you deliberately in life challenge yourself, right? You get this, Angela. When you deliberately and intentionally challenge yourself, you get better at other things that you didn't think. That muscle of perseverance not just helps you physically and mentally and emotionally, but it's going to help you in your business, because you just get her done. You just get her done. You don't talk yourself out of things. You just go and get it done, because you build that perseverance muscle that just says, I'm not going to quit. So that to me is a big part of this.
Michael. Like, I'm like, all right, ready to go.
Well, and it all starts with a decision. I wrote an article, rekindled.com, so you can post that. And I just wrote an article about what we celebrate. Oftentimes we celebrate completion, but the real celebration should be when we decide and start, because that's where we need a little bit of encouragement. But those moments are pretty lonely. When you decide and start, nobody was out there with me. Nobody's around cheering you on. You're doing it, right? And then all of a sudden you complete it and everybody's your, raving fan. No, the real celebration was back when you started. It's like when I took that first university class and later graduated, right? Lots of fanfare when you graduate, not much fanfare when you sign up for the first class. But that was the beginning of the journey that got you to where you're going.
That's so good. Make a
Yeah.
decision and follow through with this decision.
Yeah.
So good. I know we could go on forever because this is, like I said, I run
We're
through
just getting
this.
warmed up. We got to
I
do this
know.
again, Angela.
That's what I feel like. But we'll wrap up with 3 final questions, and then
Okay.
anything you want to leave with like our listeners.
Okay.
So first final question, this is your like favorite thing. So this is good. Someone's looking for their purpose. What's one sentence or thought that could help them find it?
Oh man. Get some paper. Well, here's what I did. It's that part of that why and purpose. It's called 7 Levels Deep. Now, I first heard this from Dean Graciosi, one of his events that I was at, and subsequent podcasts. So you can go online, exercise 7 Levels Deep, and it's asking the question about your why. So it helps to get down to your real why. That was a really helpful exercise for me. And then the second thing is, where does your passion and your skill, your competence, where do they intersect? Like I would think, well, no, I'd love to be a singer. Now I have the name, right? Michael Bolton. I could be a singer, but I'm not. Because I'm not that good. Now my grandkids think I'm amazing because I make up songs all the time.
That's all that matters.
But they're only for the family and never to be repeated outside.
Oh,
but it's important in life. Where does my skill, my competence, and it's not just what you think, it's what other people say to you. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's what, man, you're good at that. And your interest. Where do they intersect? And sometimes it's, you might get a coach, you might sit down with somebody that you trust, to begin to discover. And it's not a one-off thing that happens. It's an evolving process. I found now, I'm almost 60. My purpose and mission have just continually got into more laser focus as those points have intersected. And so be patient with you, but begin the journey of defining your why and just starting to discover your passion and your skill and where do they intersect.
Love it.
What gives you joy that you do more of, that you're energized, not drained? Okay? Mm-hmm. And that's a good place to start. And it's usually going to involve, here's the big thing, it's usually going to involve other people. Where do I serve other people where they are blessed and I'm blessed? That's good. And see where that goes. That's in a nutshell.
Awesome. I love it. So good. Number 2, what's your favorite quote, if you have one, or which one comes to mind and why?
Oh man, that's, it's that I mentioned that John Maxwell quote has been a game changer for me. Everything worthwhile is uphill. I used to think if it was easy, it was for me. Mm-hmm. Well, that of course is not true, because what's easy is doing nothing. What's easy is daydreaming. What's easy is being on your phone and just scrolling on YouTube for an hour. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't get you anywhere in life, right?
No, sadly.
It's everything worthwhile is uphill. So if it's challenging, I'm on the right track.
That's good. I love that. And number 3, what's one word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
Oh, wow. Here, I was just thinking about this the other day. When those closest to you, who know you the best, love and respect you the most, you're living your best life. I don't want people who don't know me very well to love and respect me, and those closest to me not love and respect me, just tolerate me. And so on my gravestone, some kind of phraseology around that those who knew him love and respected him the most. Because that's the people who are closest to us should be the ones who know us the best and love and respect us the most, because they see the authentic us. Because what do I want to do? I want to leave a legacy. Maybe that's the phrase. Just, he left a legacy. He left a good legacy. He lived a life well lived.
Look at that. We're planning your funeral gravestone here right now.
Because I do think about it a lot. What do I want said at my funeral?
Yeah.
And so it involves, all of those things I've talked about. Haven't really thought about the epitaph on my gravestone. Maybe I should pre-order that and have it ready. I don't know.
There we go. We're on the All right. So let's say you run into someone at a coffee shop and they're like, that was awesome. I'm working on the uphill. Was there something that we didn't touch on today that you just want to leave our listeners with?
Well, the whole thing about being a constant learner. I made a decision a long time ago. I am just going to be a constant learner. And so what do we do? You and I both do it. I listen to John Maxwell podcast. I listened to Ed Milet this morning because I want to continue to be inspired and informed. And so the world is changing quickly. What you knew a year ago may not serve you well today. Mm-hmm. You've got to be constantly learning and growing. And so I want to encourage people with that. Listen, I have lots of university degrees, but they were from a while ago, mm-hmm. and they have a shelf life. And if I think what I knew then is going to help me today, it's probably not true. I need to be a constant learner, constantly learning and growing, and being willing to change the way I think, change the way I do things. Just even think about this podcast. How many years ago there wasn't even a thing called a podcast? Mm-hmm. And now we get a huge amount of information from podcasts and grow and learn. So that's what I would tell them. Be a reader, be a learner, invest in yourself. Because if you invest in yourself, then you can invest in other people because you have something to give. Yeah, so good. I love that. Guys, I know you got a lot of value today. Make sure to share this. We'll have, like I said, all the links in the show notes. Reach out to Michael. I know he's happy to help if there's any way that he can. We'll have his website and all of that kind of stuff there too. But let's go out there. Let's share this. Let's change the world one starfish or one person at a time together. If we can change one starfish or one person at a time together, we can change the world. Thanks so much for being on. Really appreciate it. All right. Thanks, Angela.